Sobering up after the desired purchase sometimes comes surprisingly quickly, sometimes just a few days later, when the car is already starting to present unpleasant surprises. Many problems manifest themselves in the cold season. In winter, the gas tank hatch constantly freezes, the wiper blades are covered with frost, which, even when the car warms up, cannot clean a decent part of the windshield. By the way, the windbreaker itself is short-lived. Some owners changed it under warranty up to 4 to 5 times. But for the second owners, this procedure will cost at least 50,000 rubles. Unpleasant, especially if you remember that dealers are asking for more than 5 million for the new X6. Despite the fact that the car is based on the large X5, there is not enough space in the back row. Usually there are only 2 seats. And the optional 3-seater sofa does not provide passengers with additional space at all, especially overhead. In fairness, it should be noted, the body pleases with good anti-corrosion resistance. If pockets of rust are found on it, it means that the car was in an accident and was handicraft restored. It is better to stay away from such an instance. From road chemistry, chrome parts get, after a couple of winters, the decorative coating becomes cloudy and swells. Often the door locks fall and do not open. The power windows fail. The drive cable moves in a plastic jacket and tans in the cold. They usually change the entire mechanism in the collection for 25,000 rubles. And that's just one door. In the cabin, extraneous sounds can annoy. The armrest and trunk lid creak. Incomprehensible groans are emitted by the steering column when the steering wheel is rotated. The defect is treated by replacing the cassette or ring on the steering column. From 10,000 rubles, the wires stop rubbing against the plastic and the unpleasant sound disappears. Often, dealers at their own expense change the lining of the driver's seat cushion. On almost all modifications with a leather interior, cracks appeared on it. But if the doors begin to open on the go, their closers are to blame, which on the first machines did not differ in proper quality. A set of new ones costs from 39,000 rubles. Not all owners were satisfied with the shape of the seats. Even on crossovers with improved seats, there were complaints that the back starts to ache after an hour or 2 spent behind the wheel. However, the electrician is the most problematic. The start-stop system and the all-wheel drive connection function often do not work correctly, especially in cold weather, and the electric power steering also fails. Many users attribute this to the overly fancy design of the machine and the abundance of complex electronics. Therefore, numerous equipment failures were treated under warranty. Any malfunction in the brake system, engine, gearbox, or steering is reflected on the screen. Moreover, most of them are trifling. For example, the automatic transmission adapts to the driving style, and if the driver has changed, and hence the style, the box immediately gives an error. You will have to remove it from the dealer with mandatory diagnostics. But behind such worries, you can often overlook really serious problems. After all, there are a lot of electronic options in each node and unit. Not without them in engines. The X6 was equipped with 3-liter turbocharged 6s, 306 horsepower gasoline and diesel in 218, 249, 313 and 381 horsepower, as well as 4.4-liter supercharged V8s, 450 and 575 forces for the M version. Gasoline engines are not reliable. So, the initial 3-liter R6 consumes a lot of oil, up to half a liter per 1,000 kilometers. Moreover, the masters at the service consider such figures acceptable. If the appetite of the motor is greater, urgent measures must be taken to change valve stem seals or piston rings. At dealer prices, about 80,000 rubles. Another reason is a faulty EGR, crankcase ventilation, valve. By the way, the oil must meet the requirements for a specific modification of the X6. Otherwise, valves with hydraulic compensators will start to coke, 7,500 rubles each. Even on relatively recent versions, the high-pressure fuel pump fails. Replacement is not cheap, from 55,000 rubles. By 100,000 km, you must be ready to replace the engine mounts, on average, 15,000 rubles apiece. If, after updating them, the motor continues to work with vibration, most likely, you will also have to change a set of nozzles, each of which costs 18,000 to 29,000 rubles. At the same time, individual ignition coils are also updated, 15,800 rubles each, which rarely take care of more than 100,000 kilometers. Moreover, original spare parts for the motor are very expensive, and non-original ones do not differ in a normal resource. By the way, Often the motor had to be repaired already at 50 to 60,000 kilometers. Officials are asked only about 400,000 rubles for replacing the cylinder head assembly. Imagine how much the overhaul of the motor will pull. Usually up to 50% is added to this amount. Things are a little better with the G8. If the 6 loves oil, then the V8 simply devours it. True, usually after the oil scraper rings lie down, closer to 100,000 km, but often earlier. Replacement will cost from 60,000 rubles. On this unit, you must strictly monitor the misfire. As soon as you feel a slight twitch of the engine at idle, immediately change the spark plugs, 1,200 rubles apiece. At the same time, it is better to install them from the M version. Such candles last much longer, although they are more expensive. On the first machines, the injection nozzles sinned by passing fuel through the seals. Therefore, after a long period of inactivity, a water hammer may occur when starting the engine. And this is already a problem. Repair will pull in an amount equivalent to the cost of a new VAZ subcompact car. Since 2017, the nozzles have been replaced with new style parts, and the problem is gone. At risk for both engines is a turbocharger. It costs from 80,000 rubles, not counting the work to replace it. To extend his life, you need to use only high-quality engine oil and update it in a timely manner. The same recommendations can be equally applied to diesel engines. The X6 has a whole quartet of them. Although, by and large, this is the same 3-liter inline turbo 6 and 57D30A with varying degrees of forcing. The base version puts out 218 brake horsepower, and the next one, with slightly increased boost pressure, is 249. The 313 brake horsepower variant has 2 turbines, while the top 381 brake horsepower version has 3. Engines are also not without problems, although they are more reliable than gasoline ones. Among their weak points, swirl flaps can be distinguished, which become clogged with used oil, which requires periodic cleaning of the turbines, and at the same time with the EGR valve. After 60,000 kilometers, pay attention to the crankshaft damper. If it starts to flake, change it immediately. Otherwise, you will become disheveled and do a lot of trouble. But the turbine, with good care, can live up to 200,000 kilometers. True, the replacement will cost at least 100,000 rubles. Approximately the same resource for the timing chain. Replacing it will cost from 60,000 rubles. Glow plugs, 18,000 rubles each, last 1.5 to 2 times less, and injection nozzles are changed as they wear out, usually after 100,000 kilometers. In terms of service, diesel engines turned out to be even more whimsical compared to gasoline engines. Decent care will not hurt the 8-speed automatic ZF8 HP75. Another gearbox for the X6 is not provided. The oil in it changes on average after 60,000 to 80,000 kilometers, and with the filter update. The fact is that it is located in a plastic oil pan, which requires replacement after each dismantling. And this is about 50,000 rubles. In general, the unit from ZF is reliable. True, it is designed for a maximum torque of 750 to 900 Newton meters. And if the engine of your car has higher power and torque characteristics, the resource of the box becomes less, because then the machine works at the limit of its capabilities. Hence the premature failure of the hydraulic valve block and the clutch package. In this case, the repair of any automatic transmission unit at dealers is estimated at 6 figures. If you stick to a calm manner, do not skid off-road or in deep snow, then the box will live up to 300,000 kilometers. Such a sharp driving style does not prolong the life of the ATC 45L transfer case, 230,000 rubles, and external CB joints, 45,000 rubles each, of the front gearbox. Please also note that the outboard bearing and crosspieces do not change individually, only the entire cardan mechanism assembly. And that's another 100,000. As for the suspension, the costs here are distributed according to the principle: you drive more carefully, you spend less. The driving style directly affects the durability of the chassis elements. In addition to the usual consumables, such as stabilizer struts, transverse and trailing arms, ball bearings and silent blocks, shock absorbers and wheel bearings, you will have to periodically change pneumatic elements, which cost a lot of money. Repair of such a suspension is quite expensive, an average of 250,000 rubles. Conclusion: in general, it is impossible to buy a BMW X6, especially a used one, with the last money. After acquiring this treasure, you should have an amount of at least 1/3, and preferably half, of the cost of the purchased crossover. Since at risk he has whimsical turbocharged powertrains, a complex all-wheel drive transmission and adaptive suspension, as well as control electronics. Therefore, any breakdown can cause a serious blow to the family budget.